Hi guys, this is Ahmed again, and welcome to episode 2 of Off the Chain. And early on today, I had a chance to speak with Nathan Cook. Nathan Cook is the CTO of Zen Protocol, uh, new blockchain, very interesting, and we had a demo, a very good presentation. We was some live demos, some code. The blockchain is already live, and this was discussing some of the differences between the Zen protocol and the Ethereum protocol. Well, Ethereum blockchain really, and some of the smart contracts and the scalability. We discussed a little bit of around the issues with our securities as well. So what I will do first, I will play. I will show you the full presentation that Nathan did, and then I will show you the sit down that Nathan and I did, and you can hear some of the answers that I had for some of the questions that I came forward putting forward. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this show, and thanks for tuning in again.
Very good introduction. I might just go on to the technical stuff. But I do want to talk about Ethereum and like the second system effect and like where things have gone not quite wrong, but gone stale in blockchain. Oh, is this not working? That's fine. Yeah, that's all. But first, it's going to get technical a little bit at the end, and if you don't like that, it's fine, get a beer. But my aim is that by the time we finish, you understand what we're doing, why it's important, and how we're doing it. So feel free to ask questions. Anything that is not clear, I'll try and answer. So let's start off with what we're doing. So we're a new blockchain. By that I mean we're completely, all the code is new. We're based on F# and F star, which I'll get to. There is basically no common code with Ethereum at all, or Bitcoin, except for the cryptography. And I want to talk first about why we did it, why we did it this way. So this is what we're doing. We're doing financial focused blockchain, meaning that we're focused on creating instruments and doing things that are financial, collateralization, derivative-based mechanisms, assets. All those things are supported at the protocol level. And by focusing on that, we end up with something that is good at it, not just a world computer, something that is good for financial use cases, which we believe is what blockchain is best suited for. And if we're going to talk about blockchains, we should talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin had the idea of a new kind of money, money that you just owned, that it wasn't conditional on someone else. It wasn't like a dollar or a pound note. It was more like gold, except unlike gold, it was digital. And unlike gold, it didn't depend on physical possession, it depended on a new thing, proof of work. A kind of global consensus in which a game theory guarantees in some way that there's an agreement on who owns Bitcoin. And when you compare it to other assets that aren't money, you find a big divide. You find that conventional instruments are very like fiat money. They are issued by someone, normally they're regulated in some exchange. And whether you own them or not depends on a whole variety of social conditions. That also goes for creating, of course. You can't just go out and issue a derivative. You issue a derivative either over the counter, and you're still regulated, or an exchange, in which case you never really see the derivative. All the collateralization, all the support for value is backed by a brokerage or by the exchange itself. And it leaves a kind of a gap, a lacuna. What if you could have outright ownership of digital assets? And Ethereum kind of tried to do that. If you have these things called dApps and digital applications that could implement a kind of asset that people are trying right now to implement digital assets in. But is that really what Ethereum is doing? Ethereum is really doing a kind of world computer where everything exists in same space, and you can do literally anything that you might be able to do on the Commodore 64. Okay, you can do it in Ethereum. Except that doesn't work properly, because if you make a mistake in Ethereum, then your investors or the people that own your assets, they discover that they didn't really own what they thought they owned. They discover that the backing isn't there anymore, because there's a flaw in a smart contract. And the only exception is if you are so large that the fate of the blockchain itself depends on what you're doing, well then there's a social consensus to kind of bail you out. And that's actually happened. And then the question always remains afterwards, is it going to happen again? Is Ethereum really an immutable world computer, or is it something else? Is it just a social consensus that's mediated via some code that doesn't really matter? And we thought we could do something else. We thought that if you target financial assets, and if you do what is necessary for financial assets to be secure, to be capable of real financial properties like collateralization, with proof that that's what's going on, then you can have a truly worldwide or truly global system of financial assets. And we thought, okay, Bitcoin's already doing that, but just for money. So let's link it to Bitcoin. And we have links to Bitcoin, and then you can get Bitcoin value onto the Zen Protocol. And then you could, for instance, purchase assets using Bitcoin without being in need of an intermediary. Okay, and now it's going to get technical. Why did Ethereum have these problems? There's a couple of reasons. Firstly, because it's literally just a computer. It's an emulation of a computer that doesn't have any security properties itself inherently. The other problem is it takes a long time to do things. If you've seen various situations on Ethereum where you're trying to transfer an asset that isn't just Ether, like a token, the tokens aren't really recognized in Ethereum, not at the protocol level. Tokens are an application. It's like any other sort of application on a computer. And that's good, because they're interpreted applications. And we do not think that interpreting is scalable. We do not think that a computer that is literally interpreted one line at a time is going to be as efficient as it could be. So we thought something else. We thought, what if you can determine how long these things take to run, how long a contract, a piece of code takes to run. Well, if you can do that, you don't have to interpret it because you don't have to watch it anymore, you have to monitor it. And if you can do that, then you can compile the contracts. In other words, they can be just as fast as anything else that runs in your computer. And that is one of our technical advances. Beyond the support for native assets, beyond all that stuff, we have no VM, no virtual machine. And that really is faster. It's at least 10 times faster, and it gets even more fast as you scale up. Because in an interpreted paradigm, you have to do one thing at a time. You cannot parallelize. You don't have machines, you don't have hardware support for parallelization in an interpreted setup. Whereas if you have multiple compiled contracts, even before you make optimizations, like software optimizations, okay, there's already a lot of research into how to make software run faster, and your processor is ready to make use various tricks to make your contracts run more quickly. And that gives us more capacity. There's a feeling that you can make things go faster on a blockchain. You can't really make it go faster, but it always takes a certain amount of time for the entire world to come to consensus on transaction history. What you can do is you can have more capacity. You can handle more transactions, and we try to max that out. We don't think everything is going to be okay on chain, but we think quite a lot. You can get much better than you're doing right now. Okay, you can't really see it here, but this is kind of the fundamental difference between what we're doing and what other people are doing. We have agreement on code. So you see that is ZF style code. That is our name for our programming language. And we have consensus on that. In other words, when you put contracts onto our network, you're putting code onto our network. Like little pieces of programs in a format that people can read and understand. That is not the case for Ethereum or for the blockchains. They put on something called EVM bytecode, which is opaque, you can't understand it, and that's the stuff that gets interpreted. Okay. Then what we do is we prove how long it takes to run. And once we've proven it, you can just compile it. And then each individual node, each individual computer can validate the Zen Protocol network at machine speed. By contrast to looking at Ethereum, you're looking at a consensus on the interpretation of this bytecode. One thing at a time, one action at a time, one account at a time, in fact. It just makes it a lot better. I want to demonstrate what we're doing, because we do actually have a blockchain as of the 30th of June. It's running. This is our application. And here you can see a few assets. This is ZP, a slightly native asset that you use to activate contracts. And it's the one that you mine. We have some contract, we have some other contract. I want to show how you interact with the contract and how you move tokens between in and out of contracts and do things with them. So, if we look at active contracts, here's an active contract. Yes? Okay. So I want to use a contract. So I look at this contract, I zoom out, I'm going to run it. I'm going to redeem. No, I'm not going to redeem, I'm going to buy some tokens. So type in buy. No, I'm cool. I'm going to run it by using the Zen Protocol thing. I don't need to do anything except to say what I want the token to go back to and how much I want to buy. So let's say I want to buy I want to spend 0.1 Zen Protocol tokens. If I look at my portfolio right now, I already have a million contract tokens. Now let's say I run this thing. One second. There you go. You can see the contract ran successfully. Proof is now I have a lot more tokens. Now I have 11 million tokens. And that's because the contract I just ran is a very simple contract that takes some Zen Protocol tokens and gives me its own asset. An asset that it makes by itself. Now, because this is an active contract, it's a safe contract, I can actually look at its code. And there it is. And you can see this is a kind of functional paradigm. It's a little bit complicated still, we're working on making it faster. But you can see that these are things that are like actions, redeem, buy, things that you would actually do financially. And I can even demonstrate that we can create a new contract. So, here's a contract. I will Sandra. Second. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I have a contract development toolkit here. And you can see that's you guys into a contract. It's all very bare bones, but this is the UI we're coming with. And I'm going to use this to make a contract. So let's see. There you go, it's been packed. Now all I need to do is upload the contract. So what's it called again? It is. Okay, here's my contract. I can give it a name. And I decide how long I want it to be active for. So I'm going to make it active for 500 blocks, which is a couple of days. Activate it. And you're going to notice activating it takes a little bit of time. There you go. It takes longer than Ethereum, just activating it. The reason is that my local computer is right now proving how long this contract takes to run. When it's generated the proof, it's going to upload the proof with, there you are, it's been activated, it's going to upload the proof with the contract. Then every other node on the Zen Protocol blockchain can check how long it takes to run very quickly. And now, I have an active contract right here, which I'm going to use. The contract has been run successfully. Let's look at the portfolio. I now own 40 million tokens issued by the contract that is activated. If I wanted to, I can now redeem those 40 million tokens and get back Zen Protocol tokens, because that's what the contract does. There's many other contracts I could write. They all work basically the same way, and they all refer to the fundamentals of financial assets. In other words, collateralization, redemption, derivative value, rights, obligations. That's basically how it works. It's still quite technical to create things. The developer support is coming along. What I'm trying to do here is to get people interested, developers, early adopters, in what you can do with this protocol. It is not the same as Ethereum. It is not the same as existing blockchains. It works in a different way. We think it's a smarter way. These contracts run much, much faster than Ethereum contracts. They run much faster than any other contract that works on a public blockchain. The reason they do is because they can actually run as compiled code. It's a simple thing, but it's something that other chains just can't do. And we think it is going to make us not just more capacity, but more security. Because the language we're using is not just for proving how long contracts take to run. It can also prove what they do. And if you can prove that your asset is backed on-chain, and you can then your assets can talk to each other. They become much more complicated, and you as a human being or as a trader, you don't have to understand that complexity. All this stuff right now, all these activation, proving, all that stuff is just to make it easier for the end user, and that's where we're going with. Okay, and I think that is it. Thank you very much.
Hi guys, so this is Ahmed from Off the Chain YouTube channel, the only channel that discusses technical blockchain issues, and we have Nathan Cook from the Zen Protocol. Hi Nathan, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you doing?
All right. Well, I was really blown away by the presentation that you did, the demo that you did, and how the Zen Protocol differs from Ethereum and the smart contracts. If you could just tell us a little bit more about especially around the smart contracts, right?
Sure.
So now, if you could tell us a little bit more.
Okay. So we do smart contracts like Ethereum does smart contracts. Our smart contracts are compiled, not interpreted. So what we do is we prove how long they take to run, and then they just run. And then they run at machine speed, which is at least 10 times faster than Ethereum contracts run, and it gets more quick, more fast as you put in more contracts in there, because they can run in parallel. And our smart contracts, as well as being faster. They also have proofs of what they do, and that's very important for financial use cases to know if your contract is backed, is collateralized, if your contract is using a certain derivative, or is based on a certain asset, and that is the real distinction between what we do and what other blockchains do. Apart from the speed, it's the proof of what they do, formal verification of their properties.
Okay, so I mean, does it run in the? How is it faster? Is it running in the VM or is it interpreted directly?
So we've got something called a no VM model.
The no VM. Okay.
So there's no virtual machine. What it means is that once you prove how long some code takes to run, like you don't need to know, like you don't need to run it in a virtual machine because you don't have to measure it. You don't have to as it goes up. Normally in like Ethereum or something, you're interpreting, and every line you do, every bit of code, you see how much gas I used, like how much computation have I done, and then you have to terminate. You have to end if you've used too much. We don't have to do that because we already know how long it takes to run.
So you already know, okay, this is how much we will be using. Something like a serverless architecture on the blockchain, where you actually pay for how long you run and you know already how long you run it for.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, it's costed ahead of time, so you can compile it and it goes much faster.
So how secure is it, the actual blockchain?
So the blockchain itself, so there's a lot of stuff we don't have, like some problems that you don't have because we do things differently. So like in Ethereum, for instance, or something where you implement your tokens in a smart contract, you depend on the smart contract. So our smart contracts, they issue tokens, and the tokens, the blockchain understands them. That means the blockchain always knows how many tokens it has of a particular asset. So you get security there, and then you get to the formal verification. In other words, proving what a contract does. That's like our tool for improving security, is that you prove what your contract is going to do using like the ZF Star programming language, which is a fairly advanced, like modern language that is powerful enough to let you do these things, to create these proofs.
Okay, so all right, so it is quite secure from what I'm hearing. But how do you handle all external data?
External data, okay.
External data coming into the blockchain.
Sure. So there's always a problem with a blockchain, is that its security and its source of truth is internal. It's generated inside it, and then the question is, how do you bring this data inside? So there's a few options, right? But what we are focusing on is the idea of who is putting data in and what are their incentives. So we look at this idea of like oracles and oracles being paid, and what can you do to make sure that an oracle is the entity, the organization that says who it is.
So how do you validate his identity of the oracle?
There's capacity to have authentication and a keychain to say so that like in other words, the same way you'd identify a website, for instance, with HTTPS. And then the clever bit is that oracle is going to put in data into the blockchain, but it's going to do it in a shielded form. It's going to put in a lot of data under a Merkle tree, just like Bitcoin uses. And then to use the data, you need something called a proof of inclusion. Proof that your data is inside this tiny little piece of data that's on the blockchain. And you pay. In a single transaction, you pay for the data, when you receive the data, the proof, and then what that means is that your oracle is not spending a lot of money, but it's putting a lot of data into the blockchain, and it's being paid for every piece of data that's actually used. So oracles are useful because they're creating stuff that is actually being paid for.
So they're getting paid for. So I mean, is it possible that one oracle takes over if it's getting paid for and someone has a more powerful node running?
It's not based on the power of the node. Like you can imagine an oracle that's very well respected and that is used for a particular source of information, and but there's always opportunity in other things for other sources of data and other matters. And the power of your node, like how much mining power, it's got nothing to do with it. It's based on how trusted you are, who trusts you, and how good are you at taking this information, at collecting this information.
Okay. So just one last question, because I'm sure there's more people that want to speak to you. Is it scalable?
It's very scalable. Yeah.
Very scalable.
Yeah, we're fairly scalable. We've got lots of headroom. So what it means is that because we're compiling our contracts, we're proving how long they take to run. You don't need to interpret them, and that means you get them faster, 10 times faster, 30 times faster. It depends on how many contracts you're running, and that gets us like room to expand before we hit the basic limits of the blockchain. in the end, the blockchain is about coming to consensus on information, coming to consensus on which transactions are valid. And if everyone is coming to consensus on it, there's a limit. There's a hard limit on how fast that can happen.
Okay.
And our way around that, there's many ways. We do sharding like Ethereum, or we can do other forms of layer 2 protocol, like the Lightning Network. In any case, we're not going to be there for some time because we've got much more capacity on-chain. So we take a two-pronged approach where we get more capacity on-chain, give us more time to implement and to develop and get buy-in on these layer 2 approaches.
And you guys already live?
Yes. We launched our mainnet on the 30th of June.
30th of June.
Yeah, so you can connect to our blockchain right now and use its
dev
contracts. Yes, we have a dev kit. It's still under development, but like you can use it. You can create contracts, you can validate them, prove how long they take to run, activate them on the blockchain.
Okay, great. And how's the support for development? Documentation, channel?
It's getting on. So you can join our Telegram group, which is t.me/Zen Protocol. You can join our GitHub and our GitLab to view our documentation. You can go on our website. We have an expanding documentation on our website saying how you use our contracts, how you use our blockchain, how it all works at the protocol level. And yeah, beyond that, the documentation is coming along. Support for developers is going to come along. It's going to get easier and easier to use our blockchain.
Wow. I will go home and I will download one of the dev kits and maybe I could play around with it.
That's what I appreciate it. Yeah, I encourage you to do it. That's what we want. We want more people, more devs using it and experimenting with blockchain.
Okay, great. So thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
And thanks for answering the questions and taking 5 minutes away from all that crowd over there. All right, and I will let you know how I get along with your dev kit.
Thanks, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.